Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Frog in Hand's Dance Theater Masterclass series. Today we'll be talking about storytelling through dance and how we can approach it as creators. So, to start off, why are stories important?
You need a story. You can't just tell something and there's no through line in it. There's no emotional connection in it. It just becomes a series of words. It means nothing. You need a story. We've been brought up on stories. People share stories. It brings people together.
Stories are about people. And so the reason why I like to, especially with physical theater, love having a narrative is also because the impact it has on your audience. I will remember a show, but I will remember it way more with a narrative when I have attached myself or I felt something because of the characters within it. Like, we have just a whole spectrum of stories that we need to start telling that is not in our canon at all. What I'm excited for is when it includes all of it. When it includes all of us in one story. I'm so excited about writing those stories and including everybody from all different walks of life, sexuality, color. We belong in that same story, in that same world, in that same imagination.
I think, in a sense, that's what storytelling is. It's a way to help an audience make sense of their own lives. And as a performer, I think it does the same.
Now let's talk more about storytelling specifically through dance.
Dance is an efficient storytelling tool to evoke a visceral response from the audience, as it can override verbal language in order to delve deeper into the heart of something or offer a new perspective on a story.
When telling stories through dance, it is helpful to understand that there is specificity through simplicity. When creating a narrative structure, first identify the themes or ideas you wish to explore. From there, through image work, physical exploration, and guided improv, which we will explore together later in this episode, you can begin to develop an image/language system from which to build further detail and draw from for choreography.
This skeleton of a story can provide a simple roadmap for yourself. You are then able to create a structure that easily identifies the essentials of a story's telling, its non-essentials, and all while still giving enough gaps to experiment. These gaps are necessary in dance theater to allow room for other elements such as design, text, developing movement later on, and especially for your other collaborator, the audience.
There's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't need to be shown. You can see the beginning of it. Cut. We know what the aftermath is going to be. So sometimes that's more exciting to see that and do some theatre magic, some great theatre lighting and stuff, and then it goes into the next section, more so than having to see everything going through. It's what I call the Bambi effect. You start it, you know what's going to happen, you cut it.
Let's take a look at a past Frog in Hand production, Stories in the Woods. In this particular scene, we see beings that were once human rediscovering the earth. What does their physicality tell you about their relationship to each other? What about their posture and shape inform their relationship to the space and the earth itself? What particular gesture work have they created that provides details to aid the audience's understanding, as well as including them in conversation of the piece? Take notice of how repetition is used as a tool to aid in clarity as well. Considering questions like these in your own work or work you witness assists you in discovering and creating moments.
You have a moment, but then you need to play the moment. You've got the beginning of the moment, the end of the moment. A lot of people forget about this because they count this and this as one moment, and it's not. This is the beginning, this is the end. You've got all of this in the middle, and this is the exciting bit.
In this exercise, we are going to be deconstructing the classic fairy tale Little Red Riding Hood and building it back up to discover our own physical retelling of the story in our bodies. We've included links to the original story in the description below in case you may need to familiarize yourself, but we also encourage you to pick out any personal areas of interest that may deviate from its original telling to further make it a story of your own. These movement prompts are here to help you build a physical language and vocabulary from a place of clear intention, which will lead to the development of a clear story. To start, let's explore theme and tone. In Little Red Riding Hood, we can see themes of deception or that things may not be what they seem, for example. What are 3 gestures or physical ways you can communicate these themes? Where can you physicalize the feelings of suspicion in your body? Take some time now to explore that. We can now take these themes that you've discovered and apply them physically and specifically to key moments in the story, perhaps exploring what the transformation looks like of the wolf disguising themselves into the grandmother, or Little Red's questioning of this disguise with the iconic lines, "What big ears you have, what big eyes you have, what big teeth you have," before being eaten by the wolf. Are there movements you can support that text with or even replace that text with? Explore these moments or others in the story and take note of what you stumble upon. Remembering Kev McCurdy's idea of the Bambi effect, decide how literal your depiction is or through what abstraction you can convey your story moments. We will now begin to establish our characters. Pick one character from the story, like the wolf, for example, to explore and consider words and attributes you may give them. From this, build 3 physical gestures or phrases linked to that character based on the words you chose. For our final exploration, we'll give you time to explore a second character or continue developing the first one you chose. Now that you're more comfortable in the story and the exercise, we encourage you to consider transformation this time around. Again, building 3 physical gestures, take some time to consider how this character changes in the story, like the grandmother or Little Red, for example. What might that change look like in the physicality of the gestures you have developed? We've now arrived at the end of this episode's exercise. You can continue with this exploration beyond this video, taking these movement phrases that we've put together and attempting to mix and match different things that you've now added to your storytelling toolbox, merging thematic movements with your character gestures, for example. Take notice of the differences you experienced in moving as 2 different characters. What details might that provide you about their relationship to each other? You now have 12 choreographic ideas that you can pull from for your story. So now what? The trick with storytelling creation and dance, ultimately, is that you'll never know if you don't try it first, which many artists will attest to.
Never forget that you are experimenting and trying to move through particularly physical work and getting locked in to an idea. Like, okay, that worked. We're going to do that every time. Can be very restricting, especially if you are totally new. Like, if you cut yourself off on the second day, God knows where you could have gone if you just let yourself, theoretically fall on your face a few more times. Usually the most beautiful discoveries come from, quote unquote failures. And you learn so much more about maybe the character that you're trying to develop or the story that you're going through. Like you can have a whole new perspective when not everything goes right, because it never goes right the whole way.
You really have to get to a point where you stop discussing and you start doing. It's really important that you don't get too bogged down in the details, because when you get on your feet, that's what I love about physical theater. Is there's so many things that are already being said.
Please feel free to share your story with Frog in Hand, and thank you for storytelling with us today. We hope to see you in our next video.